All right, on our group on Telegram, Ask Percy, we had a question from Rulani Ngubeni. She was asking about some finance. So before we go to the question that Rulani has, I'm gonna just give you a brief note on finance. All right, so this is financial math. So what you need to know here is a couple of things, right? So you need to know the formulas first, and when you get the formulas right, you're able to answer any question that is given to you. For example, let's say you have a question about investment. Okay, so when you have a question about investments, these are the formulas that you need to use. The first one is A is equal to P 1 plus NI, right? And the second one is A is equal to P 1 plus I power N. And the third one is F is equal to X 1 plus I power N minus 1 over I. So if you're talking about, if the question is about investment, these are the formulas that you need to use, right? Of course, this one is about simple interest. So if the question talks about investment in simple interest and there is once of amount, you know that you need to use this formula. Okay, if the question talks about compounded interest, and also it's once off amount, this is the formula that you need to use. If the question says this is a compounded interest as well, but with this one it's a regular, or rather recurring amount, this is what you need to use. So if it's simple interest and it's once off, this is what you need to use when they talk about investment. If it's an investment, it's compounded and it's once off, this is what you need to use. If it's an investment, it's compounded and it's the recurring amount, this is what you need to use. Okay, I'll show you just using the example in the question that Ngubeni has. Okay, now let's say you have loans. Now let's talk about loans, anything related to loans, and the question, the formulas that you need to use, this is the first one that you can use. So NI, keep it that format, and the second one is P1 minus I power N. All right, and the third one is P is equal to X 1 minus 1 plus I power N minus N over I. So same applies with the previous information. This is if it's simple interest and you have a once off payment. Simple interest and it's once off payment. If it's simple, now this is compounded interest, and we have a once off payment as well. Okay, now this one, if it's still compounded interest but you have recurring payment. Okay, so depend on the question. If the question is a loan and if it's simple interest and once off, boom, that's what you need to use. If it's compounded interest and it's once off, this is what you need to do. It's compounded interest and it's a recurring payment, this is the formula you need to use. Now, but before we go into that, something that you need to note as well is if you have a compounded interest, if you have a compounded interest, okay, compounded interest, so compounded interest can be monthly. So if it's compounded monthly, what you do is you divide your I by 12, then you can then multiply your N by 12. Okay, I'll show you just now in the example, don't worry. Now if it's quarterly, you divide your I by 4 and you can times your N by 4. If it's your I, remember your I is the interest, your N is your number of payments, and then or years or months, but N is number of payments. And then you can have semi annual, so divide by 2 or you times it by 2. Okay, your N is number of payments and your I is your interest. Okay, so let's get into the question. So the question says Janet invests a lump sum of 5,000 into savings account for exactly 2 years. The investment earns interest of 10% per annum compounded quarterly. Okay, Janet invests a lump sum of 5,000 into savings account for exactly 2 years. The investment earns interest of 10% per annum compounded quarterly. So how do you answer this question, or how do you structure this question? First, you need to find what is the formula that you need to use to answer this question. How do I know and how do I find out the formula that I need to use to answer this question? You ask yourself this couple of questions, right? First thing you ask yourself, is this compounded? Okay, is this an investment or a loan? Right? Is it an investment or loan? This is an investment. Good. So if you discover the investment, therefore, this is the formulas that you need to focus yourself. It's an investment. I'm going to focus my energy to these formulas. Okay. Secondly, is this compounded or simple interest? It is compounded interest. Oh, okay. So it's compounded interest. So I'm not going to use this. So I'm going to focus on these two formulas now. Right. Now I need to ask myself, is this once-off or recurring amount? Let's go back. They say Janet invests a lump sum of 5,000 into savings account for exactly 2 years. So you see that Janet invested the 5,000 once off and he left it in a bank for exactly 2 years. So this is a once-off investment. So there's once-off amount. So this is the formula that you're going to use then. It's not a recurring, but it's a once-off amount. Janet just put 5,000 once off for 2 years in the bank. Okay, and this is the formula that you're gonna use. So let's use that formula. Let's write that down. So say A is equal to P1 plus I power N. So this is the formula that you're gonna use. Okay. Now let's answer the question 6.1.1. What is the quarterly interest rate for Janet investment? Okay. 6.1.2, calculate the amount of Janet's savings account at the end of 2 years. All right. So I'm going to answer this question in just at once, you know. I'll show you what I mean by that. So you need to first find your P. What is your P? Your P is 5,000. Why? This is the amount that was invested. 5,000. So that's your P. And your I is 10% per annum. 10% per annum is 10% per annum. So 10% is 10 over 100. That's how you write 10%. You write 10 over 100. And then because they tell us that it's compounded quarterly, right? And we've learned that if it's compounded quarterly, what do you do with your I? You divide it by 4 and you times the n by 4. So it's compounded quarterly. So you divide your I by 4. Okay, so then you can just punch this in your calculator and get your answer. So what is 10 over 100 divided by 4? 10 over 100 divided by 4 should get 1 over 40. Okay, and 6.1.1, I'm going to write it here, 6.1.1, what they wanted to do is, what you wanted to do is just say I is equal to 10%, which is 10 over 100, and you divide this by 4, which you're going to get 1 over 40, and then you times it by 100 because you want to get a percentage of that, which is going to be 2.5%. Okay, so that's the answer that they expected in 1.1.1, 6.1.1. Okay, cool. Let's continue with this. What is our N? Our N is, read again. Our N, savings account for exactly 2 years. So he put this amount for 2 years. For 2 years, he put this amount for 2 years. So that's at N. And then because it is compounded quarterly, so we divide I by 4. So then we need to multiply N by 4. So 2 times 4, which is 8. So the interest was accumulating every quarterly. So that means the interest was accumulating 8 times. All right, and that interest is 2.5%. Right, then from here, then you can now answer the 6.1.2. Calculate the amount of Janet's savings account for the end of 2 years. So 6.1.2, so you have your P, which is 5,000, and you have your I, which is 1 over 40, and you have your N, which is 8. Okay, and you can just simply punch this in your calculator and get your answer, and that should be your answer. Let me punch it. So 5,000, 1 plus 1 over 40 power 8, that is 6,092 rand and 1 cent. So that's your answer for 1.6.1.2. Okay, so let's recap on what we've learned. What we've learned is we have formulas that you need to use depending on what you're gonna what is the question. So if it's investment and simple interest and it's once off, this is what you're gonna do. If it's compounded interest and it's once off, this is what you use. If it's compounded interest and it's recurring, that's the formula you're gonna use. Now if it's a loan and it's a simple interest and it's once off, this is the formula you use. It's a compounded interest and it's once off, this is the formula that you use. If it's compounded interest and it's a recurring payment, this is the formula that you need to use. And if it's compounded interest, if you know, then if it's monthly, you divide your I by 12, you multiply your N by 12. If it's quarterly, you divide your I by 4, multiply your N by 4. If it's semi-annual, you divide your I by 2 and you multiply your N by 2. And to answer any questions, this is to get the right formula. This is the set of questions you need to ask yourself. Is it investment or a loan? Okay, that's the first question. Is it compounded or simple interest? That's the second question. And the last question, is it recurring or once off amount? With this set of questions, you can find the right formula that you need to use. Boom. Please share this with other people that might need to know about this, and tell other people to join our sessions and post the questions on Telegram AskPercy. Just search on Telegram, search AskPercy, and post the question there. Please like and comment, and let's engage, and let's grow this community. Please share and talk to other people, and let's grow this community together.